Hi YouTube, this is H. Siftac back with another knife review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Victorinox Craftsman. This is an awesome knife, and the reason why I say that is because it has every tool that you would want on a knife. Without any extras, you know, the crappy tools, except for minus maybe one or two. That's one of the problems with Swiss Army knives, is that you're when you go to buy a model, they always put these tools on there that you're never going to use, and it just junks up the knife. And then when you try to find the tools that are essential, and as far as I'm concerned, a knife blade, a saw blade, and maybe some screwdrivers and a pair of pliers, and an awl, that is the essentials. But what you'll find is that they're going to load your knife down with a pair of scissors when you have two knife blades. It's redundant, and it's redundant in a bad way, because every time you put a tool or an implement onto the knife, it's going to make it a little bit thicker. And that's one of the problems that Swiss Army runs into, is that you start getting into, it'll get thick rather quickly. And as far as I'm concerned, the Craftsman, even though, here's the mechanic for comparison. The mechanic is just perfect in the way it is. Really, it's just a basic knife that has all the tools you'd want, minus a saw that you would need. If the mechanic had a saw, really it would be the perfect Swiss Army knife.
Yes, and we've done a review of it. You can check that out. There will be a link in the description.
But the thing with, so I wanted the mechanic with a saw. The next step up, of course, is the Craftsman. They give me the saw. This one, as you can see, is 2 implements fatter than the mechanic. And as far as I'm concerned, the mechanic will fall in your pocket. You'll forget that it's even there. It's that small. But once you add 2 more implements on it, you do feel it in your pocket. But they could have limited this down to just 1 more implement, and as far as I'm concerned, would be in the perfect Swiss Army knife. And there's just a lot of people out there with weird tastes. I don't know. You know, like I said, people get all fanatical about a pair of scissors. It's just simply silliness, if you ask me. And it holds the knife world back, because it's redundant. Anything you can do with a pair of scissors, I could do with that small blade. And I could prove it day in, day out, all day long. And maybe not trim mustache hairs, but if I'm going to be doing that, we might as well shave to get real with it. Now, so they added these scissors on there, which is not necessary. So if you had the Craftsman without the scissors, it would be slightly a smaller tool. That's one tool that's unneeded, and there's also another tool back here that's unneeded, which is that hook. Me personally, I've never used the hook, and I can't see I've never seen anyone use the hook. Even on YouTube, anytime they do a review of that hook, they're like, oh, that's a parcel hook, that's good for untying paracord, yada yada. Yeah, I bet you no one's ever used it. But there's nothing we can do about it, because I don't make the knives. I simply buy them and use them. But that's an implement that could have easily left, and the scissors, and it would have made this knife 1 implement skinnier, which would have been near perfect. And of course, when you get into the Swiss Champ, it just gets ridiculous. They put magnifying glasses that aren't really that good on the knife, and all of these like orange peelers and hooky doodads that don't do anything, and it just makes the knife too thick. You know, you start getting thick, and nobody's going to be able to pocket it. So what's nice is that they put the half stop on the screwdriver, but they don't put a half stop on the knife blade. Kind of weird to me, but I do like the fact that they're showing you that they do know how to make a half stop, and a lot of companies don't know how to do it. In fact, I would say 99% of the knives that I pick up that have a half stop in it, they just don't do them properly. This is a proper half stop, and you can hear it because it clicks in both angles. So anyway, I'm just going to go through the tools real quick. We got a small pen blade. You've got a big pen. You've got a big blade. This is called the Craftsman. And let's see, we got the a file. And this is not just a fingernail file, which I think is a somewhat useless tool, because if it's a metal file like this one, then you could use it as a fingernail file, but you cannot use a fingernail file for metal. And it also has, I believe, a hacksaw. So they made use of very good use of their space by making that a hacksaw also. And even the point is at a point to clean the fingernails. So you can see here that every single file ought to be a metal file, and any tool or Swiss Army knife that has simply just a fingernail file on it, other than the little classic for a keychain, it's ridiculous. So they did that right. Very, very good. And of course, it's victorinox quality. Every single tool opens up in its own slot, doesn't hit other tools, and it just, the fit and finish on these knives are just superb. Here is a saw. It's a fantastic saw. Victorinox is well known to be able to make a wood saw. The scissors, like I said, they're redundant. I have no problem with the scissors, like how they function. The spring, it might look cheap, but it works fine. And if they ever did fall out, which I've never had that happen, not when I personally used them, you can replace the springs. The pliers, even though some people may think those are too small, they are fairly small, but they open up quite big. And I don't know, I was working on a car the other day, and I was able to get, you'd be amazed, I mean, I was able to get that around some bolts to loosen up the bolts in a pinch, and it was fantastic. You got the can opener, the small screwdriver on the tip. You have the flat screwdriver, the bottle opener, the wire stripper. Comes up at a half stop. It's very nice. Now, if they would have made it like the Winger, where the screwdriver actually pushes in, that might be okay too. It doesn't matter one way or the other to me. I really like the fact that they have a reusable toothpick. I mean, just every day I use a toothpick. The tweezers, I don't use them, but it's nice to have them. On the back side, we have some useful tools. We have the Phillips screwdriver, probably a number 2 is my guess, fairly common. We have the chisel, which I have used quite a bit. I've chipped it a little bit, but it is a very usable tool. Small chisel, but it works. A very small screwdriver, which is a very useful tool. I'm glad they implemented that. The hook that is useless and just weighing my knife down, and the awl, which is a great tool with the hole. A lot of people just can't get an awl done properly. Victorinox does it right. Then of course they got a removable ring that you can use for a lanyard hole. That's great. And of course a lot of people don't know about it. Some people do. The pin slot right underneath the screwdriver slot, you can put a needle in there.
And they don't mention this in the instructions. It's just kind of a hidden thing.
Well, yeah, it's kind of hidden. They don't talk about the instructions, but it's very nice to have a needle in there. I rarely use it, but I have used it before. I've used all of the tools on here except for that hook. In fact, I've even used the scissors, but I could do without the scissors to lighten the knife up. But overall, I think I paid $50 or $55 for this knife, the Craftsman. I think it's the biggest Swiss Army knife that's actually pocketable. You know, just in regular blue jeans or even dress pants. Anything bigger than this, and it's going to show one heck of a bulge, and it's just too heavy. Anybody that says they carry around a Swiss Champ, unless you're a great big guy with great big pockets or something like that, it's ridiculous. And and a third of those tools are useless anyway. This is the top of the line Swiss Army knife right here. All the other tools either are lacking the saw and the file, or they're just too big and adding stuff that is redundant or unneeded. So really, I think the Craftsman, when it comes to the Victorinox Swiss Army knife, is the top of the line. Anything better than this, and then you're going to get into the belt pouches like the Spirit X or the Victorinox multi-tools that you carry on a belt pouch, which are absolutely awesome.